Hi, I'm Lena, and welcome to Super Data JP, the channel where we turn Japan's real estate and cost of living numbers into answers you can actually use. Every video here is built on verified government data, not opinions, and not guesses. Whether you're planning to invest, relocate, or just curious what life in Japan really costs, you're in the right place. Let's get into today's numbers.
In parts of Okinawa, before you're even allowed to buy a plot of land, the government requires you to disclose your name, your address, and exactly what you plan to do with it. It sounds like proof of the old rumor that foreigners can't really buy land near Japan's military bases. It isn't quite that simple. Final stop in our City by City series. Kyoto was heritage scarcity, Yokohama was Bay Area brand, Kobe was managed decline. Okinawa is a different animal entirely. Resort demand, military geography, and typhoons, all shaping the market at once. This is for anyone considering a resort condo, a vacation rental, or a personal use property here, and for anyone who's heard the foreign ownership rumor and wants the actual legal answer, not the internet version. Okinawa isn't priced like the rest of Japan. It behaves more like a resort market than a residential one, driven by tourism, vacation home demand, and a genuinely different climate and culture from the mainland. A weak yen has made it dramatically more accessible to buyers from China, Taiwan, South Korea, and beyond, on top of that existing appeal. So back to that disclosure requirement. Where does it actually come from, and who does it really apply to? It's called the Important Land Survey Act, in force since 2022. It designates zones roughly 1 kilometer around security-sensitive sites, military bases, Coast Guard facilities, and border islands, for monitoring. Inside the most sensitive of those zones, selling a lot of 200 square meters or more requires advance notice of the buyer's name, address, and intended use before the sale can go through. Here's the part that breaks the rumor. This rule applies to every buyer, Japanese citizens included, based entirely on where the land sits, not who's buying it. It's a monitoring law, not a foreign ownership ban. And outside those narrow zones, none of it applies at all. Given how densely military facilities are packed into Okinawa specifically, though, more of the prefecture falls inside these zones than almost anywhere else in Japan. Outside those specific zones, Japan places zero general restrictions on foreign buyers anywhere in the country, no citizenship test, no residency requirement, and no approval process to clear before you can close. And Okinawa's land values reflect real demand, not just military geography. Residential land prices rose 7.3% in the most recent official land valuation, the number one rate anywhere in Japan. That wasn't a one-year spike either. Okinawa has now posted 12 consecutive years of land price growth, longer than almost anywhere else in the country. Resort areas are actually outpacing the capital, Onna Village, on the West Coast Resort Strip, gained 8.8% against 5.1% in central Naha. Vacation property demand is genuinely outrunning ordinary urban demand here. Prefecture-wide, the average condo sale price now runs about 40.24 million yen, or roughly 570,000 yen per square meter. In Naha specifically, typical sale prices run 34.47 million yen to 37.47 million yen for a standard unit. Zoom out further and the trend is even clearer. Prefecture-wide condo prices are up 56.4% over the past 9 years. Part of that is currency math. The yen has weakened roughly 30 to 35% against the dollar since 2021, making the same Okinawa property meaningfully cheaper for anyone earning in foreign currency than it was just a few years ago. There's also a brand new demand catalyst in the north. July 2025. A 60-hectare nature theme park called Junglia opened across Nago and neighboring Nakajin, with 22 attractions built into the jungle landscape. It sits inside the Yamber region, a UNESCO World Natural Heritage Site since 2021, and projections put its economic impact at roughly 6.8 trillion yen over the next 15 years, exactly the kind of catalyst that tends to move property values in the surrounding area well before most buyers notice. One more thing sets Okinawa apart physically: what the houses are actually built from. As recently as 64.5% of new homes here were reinforced concrete, versus just 14.5% wood, the opposite of mainland Japan. That's shifted somewhat, By 2023 it was closer to an even split, 46% concrete versus 42% wood, as material costs rose and mainland builders expanded into the prefecture. Reinforced concrete remains the standard here for one blunt reason: typhoons hit Okinawa far more often and far harder than almost anywhere else in Japan, and RC construction simply holds up better against sustained wind loads. It's worth checking construction type directly before assuming a property is built to the same standard you'd expect on the mainland. The insurance and resale calculus are genuinely different. If a short-term rental is part of your plan, Okinawa's own local rules matter more here than almost anywhere else in this series, given how tourism-driven the economy already is. Since 2018, Prefecture ordinance restricts low-rise residential zones to operating only Friday noon to Monday midnight, roughly 120 days a year, not the national 180-day ceiling you might assume. Properties within 100 meters of a school face their own separate cap, limited to non-school days only, about 122 days a year. Naha city itself is exempt from both of these restrictions, which is exactly why so much of the prefecture's short-term rental activity concentrates there instead of in the resort towns you'd expect. One more change is coming. Starting February 2027, Okinawa will apply a flat 2% accommodation tax, capped at 2,000 yen per person per night, worth modeling into any short-term rental math now, before it takes effect. Financing follows the same pattern as the rest of this series. Residents with steady Japanese income can often reach loan-to-value ratios of 70 to 90%, while non-residents typically need far more cash up front, at rates closer to 1.0 to 2.5%. The obvious risk here isn't legal, it's structural. A resort market this dependent on tourism volume and currency swings can correct quickly if either one turns, in a way a purely residential market in a large mainland city usually doesn't. A stronger yen alone could erase a meaningful share of the currency-driven appeal that's fueling current demand. The most common mistake buyers make is treating every part of Okinawa the same way, assuming national Minpaku rules apply everywhere, assuming every home is built the same way, or assuming the land disclosure law is broader than it actually is. Each of those assumptions can be wrong depending on the exact parcel. Put it together and Okinawa rewards buyers who verify the specifics: zoning for rental limits, construction type for typhoon resilience, and land use zone for that disclosure rule, rather than buyers who assume one rule covers the whole prefecture, or who assume the foreign ownership rumor is true and skip checking the actual law altogether. That closes out this 4-city tour: Kyoto's legal scarcity, Yokohama's Bay Area brand, Kobe's managed decline, and Okinawa's resort angiography mix. For very different reasons property holds its value in the same country. Okinawa isn't harder to buy into than the rest of Japan, it's just governed by a different set of rules, and the buyers who check them first are the ones who avoid the expensive surprises. Subscribe for more data-driven breakdowns of living and investing in Japan, and let us know which city or topic you want covered next.
And that's today's breakdown. If you're serious about real estate or moving to Japan, research like this is exactly what separates a smart decision from an expensive mistake. Subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive, and drop a comment if there's a city or word you want us to cover next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.